All right, everybody. Hello, hello. Let me triple check and make sure I'm using the right microphone. It's not what I want to do. I want to make sure that, no, I just muted myself. Let's see, settings, there we go. That's just monetization. That's not what I want. All right, well, fingers crossed I am using the right microphone because this microphone is way better than my computer microphone. Anyway, hello, everyone. I know it's been a hot minute since we have done a live. I apologize. We are entering into the summer months, which is when I become much less consistent with like everything. Because my mental health gets really bad in the summer for whatever reason. I'm honestly still not totally like sure about why that is. Okay, I am indeed live. We love to see it. Hopefully it sounds okay. But yeah, my mental health gets pretty bad in the summer. I kind of have like reverse seasonal depression. Winter's not like fun for me. I definitely get like, like everything's just a little grayer, but like summer is like all of the sunshine and free time and whatever gives a lot of energy to my depression and makes it very like aggressive. So with all the nice weather we've been having lately, my summer depression has definitely been acting up. So I have been absent the last couple of weeks for these lives, and I do apologize. I'm really thankful that some of you are still here watching this one today. So what should we talk about today? So the title of this live is ADHD Discovery Day. So I guess we can just jump into talking about that. I would love to walk you guys through what that is and why you should come join me for it. So the ADHD Discovery Day is one day. It's May 10th, I believe. It's a Saturday. And we will be on Zoom together for I think 4 hours from 10 a.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to explore all things ADHD, which if you don't know is like both autistic and ADHD. So we're going to explore all of it. We're just going to look into what are the criteria? How can those criteria manifest? What are some accommodations for people who are ADHD? One of the really cool things you get with the ADHD Discovery Day is I created these digital binders that people can use to keep track of their autistic and ADHD. Well, there's an autistic binder and an ADHD binder, but people can use the binders to keep track of their traits. There are journal prompts, there's studies you can read, there's assessments you can take, all that good stuff. So usually those cost $25 each or $40 together. You get a slight discount for buying both. You should get some kind of reward for being ADHD, I think. So usually that's what those would cost. But if you want, you can come to the ADHD Discovery Day, and that's $49. And you get the binders, the digital binders, but you also get like all this coaching time with me, which is pretty valuable if I do say so myself, like, not to toot my own horn, but getting 4 hours with a life coach, it is a group setting, so it won't be one-on-one, but still 4 hours with a life coach is, at least for me, would usually run you about $800. And this event only costs $49. So it's pretty darn affordable. It's only $9 more than buying both of the binders. So I think you should just do it and you should come. Now, there is a caveat. Lost my train of thought. It'll come back. There is a caveat. Usually most of my events, I do replays, but there will not be a replay for this ADHD Discovery Day because it's going to be so interactive and so much of it is going to be like body doubling and asking your questions. And I just think you're going to get so much more out of it if you are able to attend live. And I don't think the replay is going to be as powerful. So I'm just not offering a replay on this one. So please only buy a ticket if you are like 90% sure you can come live. I don't plan on doing refunds for people who can't make it, for people whose plans change or anything like that, because, I am setting, that's something that's on the sales page for the ADHD Discovery Day is like, hey, why is this thing paid? Why aren't you doing this for free? And it's because I don't usually give up 4 hours on my Saturday. I have 3 small kids, and that is Mother's Day weekend. Now, I could have chosen another weekend. It's just that May is very busy for me. So I take full responsibility for putting it on Mother's Day weekend. I'm not putting that on you. But I am saying if I'm going to take 4 hours away from my children, I do want to be compensated for that time. So that's why it is a paid offering. We're going to do so much. It's going to be so much fun. So here's kind of the breakdown of the day, right? We are going to spend the first probably 20, 30 minutes doing I will give a brief presentation. Like, what is ADHD? Why is it so different from just autism or just ADHD? And what are some of the potential accommodations that go along with ADHD? What are some ways ADHD can present in different types of people and all this stuff? So that's how we'll start. We're just going to dive into it, right? Then what we're going to do is you will get access to the autism and ADHD discovery binders, and we will spend an hour filling those out together. So raise your hand if you have ever felt personally victimized by a form, a questionnaire, or some other form of like trying to get information out of you. Because, me. I just don't understand what forms mean. I have questions and forms can't answer my questions. And I thought you guys might feel that way as well about the autism and ADHD binders. I was afraid if I just gave you those binders and said, hey, go fill them out, for some people, it's going to be fine. But for other people, you're going to have questions. And so we're going to spend an hour filling out those binders together. Now, you probably won't fill out the whole binder in that hour, like almost definitely not. But my hope is that you can start with the areas that confuse you most, and then I can answer your questions. If you're like, hey, I'm taking this assessment and it's asking this, what do they mean by that? I can try to answer that question, right? So I think that'll be really helpful. So we'll spend about an hour doing that. And then we will spend the rest of our time, at least 2 hours, probably more, doing coaching. So this is where you can come and ask me anything about autism, ADHD, accommodations, whether it's worth it to get diagnosed in, RFK's America right now, all this stuff. We can chat about it. Now, I am not like the end all be all expert on anything, right? I am a person who is autistic and ADHD, and I am a life coach who has been coaching for almost 5 years now. I am good at this for sure, but I am not a psychologist. I am not a doctor, and I can't tell you what to do for sure, what's going to be for sure the right direction for you. What I can do is give you some context and help you understand your choices, right? When it comes to diagnosis, when it comes to accommodations, when it comes to relationships. I have lived this, and I've been aware of my autism and ADHD since about 2022, 2023. Probably 2022, actually, now that I think about it. And I've been doing a ton of work around it, personal work, but also I have helped so many different clients. I just finished up with several one-on-one clients, but if you had asked me last week or the week before, I was working with 9 one-on-one clients at a time, which is kind of bananas. Don't recommend, but I mean, it was amazing for sure. And I got so much out of it. It was just by the end of that time period, I was like, okay, I need a little break. So I work one-on-one with clients. I have lots of group programs. I have the Get Shit Done program, which is closed right now, but you can hop on the wait list if you like. The link should be in the description. That's all focused on executive dysfunction. I have the Neurodivergent Clubhouse, which is a pay what you can monthly membership, which I highly recommend joining. But really, if you're in that headspace where it's like, I think I'm ADHD, like I'm pretty sure, but I don't know what to do now. Like, I don't know what's next. I really recommend you come to ADHD Discovery Day, because that's what we're going to be talking about, is what to do with this information, how to cope, how to live your best life, how to be who you want to be, ADHD and all, right? And also be safe, and also, keep your job, if that's something you want to do, and all of that stuff. So it's going to be nuanced. It's not just going to be like, yeah, let your freak flag fly. Like, of course I want you to do that if you can, but also I understand that, like, nobody can just be, be themselves and do what they want when they want all the time. Like, that's not how capitalism is set up, right? But I want to help you do what you want and be who you are more often, and in ways that feel better for you. So that's something I really want to help you with. The link to sign up for the ADHD Discovery Day is in the description below. It will take place on May 10th. That is a Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time. For reference, it is 12:15 p.m. on May 2nd, Eastern time right now. So just so you know, if you have trouble figuring out the time zone, I'm in New York City time zone. I'm not in New York City, but that's the time zone, right? So that should help. There will not be a replay of the ADHD Discovery Day. So please only buy a ticket if you can come live, because I won't be doing refunds for people who can't make it and stuff like that. So just be sure you can make it before you buy your ticket. Block it out on your calendar. I will send you email reminders. It will all be good. The cost of the event is $49. And for those of you wondering, like, why is this a paid event? It's a paid event for a couple of reasons. First of all, this is a business and I run a business and I am proud of that, right? Like, I want to say over 80% of autistic people are unemployed. And I know that I could easily be one of that number. And this business has saved me from that. And I'm really proud of building this business, but also very privileged to have built this business, right? Like, my husband has a full-time job that kept our bills afloat when I was getting started, kept us with healthcare while I was getting started and all this stuff. And so I know I hold a lot of privilege there, but also, like, I need to charge for my time, effort, energy, and resources, right? So, and also this event is on a Saturday. I have 3 young kiddos. I usually don't work on the weekends, or I don't work much on the weekends. And so if I'm going to take time away from my 3 kids who are all 5 and under, I need to be compensated for that time. So I hope everybody understands why I'm charging for this. I promise it's not like a shameless money grab. I promise it will be incredibly helpful. Let's see, how will it be helpful? So first of all, I think one of the big things this event, the ADHD Discovery Day, is going to do is I want it to liberate us from this idea that other people hold the key to who we are. Now, this is not me bashing doctors or psychologists or anything like that. I love my psychiatrist. I love my new therapist. I love doctors, right? Like, I'm not bashing them in any way. I'm just saying that they don't hold the key to your identity. You hold that key. You always hold that key, right? And I'm not saying doctors can't give us helpful insight into ADHD, because they can. And they can only do that if they have done the research, if they have talked to people with lived experience, and if they really specialize in ADHD, which a lot of psychiatrists don't. A lot of psychiatrists specialize in psychosis, or they specialize in mood disorders, or they specialize in dissociation. And that's great, right? We need those people specializing in those things. But it's not helpful when you're seeking help for ADHD specifically, right? That's not helpful to see a doctor who doesn't specialize in what you need. So I'm not a doctor, but I do specialize in ADHD. I am ADHD myself. I'm autistic and ADHD combined type. I got that hyperactivity and the inattentive going on. But I'm not just educating people off of my lived experience. I have done a lot of research, and I don't mean for this to sound like I've done my own research. Like, no, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, I listen to experts on this subject all the time, right? I watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, I read scholarly articles, I read books. Like, I absorb so much information on this topic. And I have personally gotten to know some of the foremost autism experts out there right now, including, oh my gosh, what is her name? This is embarrassing. But the person who invented the term monotropic split, monotropic spiral, oh my gosh, her name is totally escaping. I can picture her perfectly. She's amazing, by the way. When I think of her name, I'll put it in the chat. Excuse me. But I've gotten to know some autism experts, like people who really know their shit, and I have learned directly from them. And I want to pass all of this amazing knowledge on to you guys, because the truth is, you don't know what you don't know. It's hard to even, like, okay, let me know in the chat if this is relatable, but I feel like when I first started learning about my autism and ADHD, I didn't even know what questions to ask. I didn't even know where to start. I didn't know what I didn't know, right? Like, it was so overwhelming, frankly. And I don't want you to have to go through that alone. So that's part of what the ADHD Discovery Day is for, right? The idea is I want to help you learn about autism and ADHD and what they look like together. I want to help you learn about the accommodations that are out there. I want to help you feel comfortable using those accommodations, even without a professional diagnosis, because there is absolutely no reason you should wait to make your life easier. You should make your life easier right now. You can. You are allowed to make your life easier with or without a piece of paper diagnosing you with anything, right? Now, I understand that there are like identity politics at play here where it's like, do you have the right to call yourself autistic without that piece of paper? I think yes, but I understand lots of people think no. And I do try to be respectful of everybody's opinion on this, but that doesn't mean I have to change my own, right? Like my opinion is that self-diagnosis is very, very valid, and not only valid, but also liberatory, right? It is essential. It is because I've had some people on my, especially like my YouTube shorts or whatever, say like, it sucks that getting a diagnosis is so hard, but that doesn't mean you have the ability to diagnose yourself. And I was like, I disagree, but and people are like, well, I know it's hard, but you just have to figure it out. And I'm like, that's not how this works at all. And I don't think being poor is a reason you should not have access to claim your identity. I think that that's bullshit. I think it's classist. I think it's crappy ideology, right? So as long as diagnoses are, first of all, very, very expensive. Second of all, often it's difficult to find an assessor who actually knows what they're talking about, not only because a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists don't specialize in autism and ADHD, so they don't know what they're talking about, but also even the ones who have done the research, who have specialized in autism and ADHD, are operating with limited information. Why are they operating with limited information? First of all, because women and adults until very recently were completely left out of autism and ADHD research. Trans people and gender nonconforming people have been intentionally left out of pretty much every kind of research. People of color have either been left out of the research or they've been researched in incredibly biased ways on fucking purpose, right? So because of that, even the most well-meaning, knowledgeable psychiatrist or assessor is still working with very limited information and may not know as much about you as you know about you, right? So for all of these reasons and more, I think self-diagnosis is unbelievably valid. And that's kind of what the ADHD Discovery Day is about. Like, I cannot diagnose you. I will never pretend to have that ability. I do not. But I'm also not going to pretend that you don't have that power. You do. You have that power. And I want that for you, right? If that's what you choose. Now, I am professionally diagnosed. So people sometimes are like, well, why are you professionally diagnosed if self-diagnosis is so valid, if it's so fine? Like, why did you get a professional diagnosis? For a couple of reasons. First of all, because I needed the validation. I needed the validation so freaking bad. Second of all, because I have a lot of privilege. I am a white lady, heterosexual, cis white lady. I have a lot of privilege. I am included in some of the newer research, and I could trust that the cis white lady assessing me would understand me, So I have a lot of privilege. That's reason number 2. Reason number 3 is because I also have a lot of health anxiety. And I have a lot of stress about diagnoses, and it's just important to me to get another person's perspective and point of view when it comes to different diagnoses. That's just important to me because I do struggle with health anxiety, which used to be known as hypochondria, that thing where you think you have everything. And it is really stressful. It is really hard, and it can make figuring out your actual diagnoses really difficult. So it is helpful to have a professional who knows what they're talking about when that's possible. So there's that. Let's see. There's a couple of comments here from Navin. Hi, Navin. I got my autism diagnosis July 2020. Congratulations. But it took 4+ years for my ADHD diagnosis. Yeah. It can take time to get both, for sure. They can mask each other in big ways. In 2020, I got my ADHD diagnosis test done. I don't know what test it was, but clearly missed my diagnosis. I've developed so much self-awareness. Yes, that's the beautiful thing about recognizing that you are autistic, ADHD, or otherwise neurodivergent, is once you know, you have a whole new set of vocabulary to use to understand yourself. It's amazing. This is actually something I'm thinking about launching. Let me know in the chat if you would be interested in this, but I think I want to do like a 6-week boot camp all about neurodivergence, neurodiversity, autism, ADHD, but also a bunch of other types of neurodivergence the concept of the neurodivergent or the neurodiversity paradigm as compared to the pathological paradigm. Let me know if that's of any interest to you, because I want to do it, but I also need to make sure people would you pay for something like that? Because if it's going to be 6 weeks of my time, plus I'm going to make a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. I want to make like an A to Z neurodivergent glossary of like terms you need to know and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm excited. I want to do it, but I need to know if you guys want to do it. Let's see. Imagine what would happen if my psych in 2020 didn't dismiss my ADHD diagnosis because I had normal schooling. Yeah, there's a really big problematic and inaccurate belief that smart people can't be disabled. People who do well in school can't be disabled. People who are successful can't be disabled. And it's very eugenicsy. It's basically like, if I make disabled people out to be completely non-functional, which some disabled people are, and they're still fucking valuable, by the way. We're going to talk about that in our YouTube video next week if I have time to film, which honestly, I don't know that I will. I'm going to try, y'all. I'm going to try. So anyway, I want to make a video about what it's like being autistic in America with RFK in charge of things right now. So I'm excited and nervous, and I just don't have time. I haven't had the wherewithal to be perceived until like an hour before this live. So I'm glad that my wherewithal to be perceived came back, because I wanted to do this live with you guys, but I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to. So focusing, what was I talking about? But yeah, imagine Navin, let me know how to say your name, by the way. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. But imagine how life would have been different if you had those 4 years of self-knowledge and like being able to accommodate yourself for those 4 years. And what if you had known it's okay for me to start accommodating my ADHD traits even without the diagnosis? Like, what if that was allowed? I've had to do that. Oh, it's Israni. Okay, perfect. Hi, Israni. Naveen. Okay, Naveen Israni. Perfect. Hi. I think that would help a lot of people. Oh, thank you, Rose. Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. Okay, good to know. I've had some mild interest, so I might put something together. It'll definitely be under $500, but it'll probably be over $100. I'm not sure where it's going to fall in there, depending on how much work I put into it and how, like, it'll just depend. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be really good. But anyway, if you want something even cheaper than that, I recommend you go sign up for the AuDHD Discovery Day. The link is in the description. It's $49, and we're going to spend 4 hours together on Saturday, May 10th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to fill out autism and ADHD discovery binders. And we're going to talk about what ADHD even is. We're going to talk about accommodations you can start using right now, with or without a piece of paper saying that you are those things. And we're also going to do some coaching. So if you've ever wanted coaching from me ever in your life, this is the most affordable way you can get it. Like, far and away, because like one-on-one coaching with me is $2,000 for 12 weeks. My Get Shit Done program is $697. Even this neurodivergence bootcamp that I'm planning is probably going to be like $197, $297, something like that. So if you want coaching from me, come to the AuDHD Discovery Day. It's only $49. I literally cannot recommend it enough. So definitely do that. I already have accommodated ADHD without ever using focus in any of my psych conversations. Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like if you don't use the right words, they don't understand what you're talking about. Like, for example, something I'm going through right now is realizing that I likely have a dissociative disorder, but it's never been caught by, I've been in therapy for over a decade, and it's never been caught by any of my professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, anybody, because I wasn't using the right language, because I didn't know that that's what it was, right? And because I had bigger fish to fry, like my emotional dysregulation was more of the problem. But even my emotional dysregulation shows up in very dissociative ways that probably should have been caught, but I wasn't using the language that they were looking for, So I get that. I disabled my Facebook notifications so long ago. Then when smartphones took over my life, I very quickly disabled my notifications too. I'm not sure I understand that one, Naveen. Let me know. just like notifications making things difficult to focus. Is that what you're talking about? Because yeah, I totally agree. I have notifications like automatically turned off for probably 90% of my apps. Smartphone. Gotcha. Okay. Yes, exactly. Cool. Just making sure I understood what you were saying. Yeah. I think ADHDers were just, it's so funny being autistic and ADHD because autistic folks do not habituate. Habituation means getting used to something so that you eventually tune it out because it's always there. So sort of like the feeling of your clothes. A lot of people habituate that. They don't always feel their clothes on their body. Or the sound of electricity in the walls. A lot of people just habituate that if they can even hear it at all. Autistic folks do not habituate very well or very fast. ADHDers habituate almost instantly. Like we tune stuff out right away. And being ADHD means that you've got this like mixture. Some things you can't tune out no matter how hard you try, and other stuff you can't pay attention to no matter how hard you try. You tune it out right away. So like I think that's always really fascinating, like looking at that like juxtaposition with the autism, the ADHD, and like habituation, right? Okay. Let's see. I want to show you all the ADHD Discovery Day page so that you know kind of what you'd be getting if you decided to come join us for that. So you should be able to see the page now. Let me know if you can't, but you should be able to see the page. So this day is for the psychological misfits, the chronically ignored and misdiagnosed, the folks who've always slipped through the cracks. I want to welcome you home. You do not need an on-paper diagnosis to start making your life easier. I've got this cute little video. I won't play it right now, but you can check it out if you like. The link is in the description. You can start accommodating yourself now. You can wear noise-canceling headphones now. You can eat your safe foods now. You can stim to your heart's content now. And I know there's so many of you asking, but what if I'm not actually ADHD? What if I'm faking? What if I'm full of shit? To which I say, so what? If the accommodations help you, you should do them, diagnosed or not. So I want this to be your permission slip, permission to explore your own brain, to give yourself what you need regardless of why you need it, and permission to claim the labels that best match your experience. We're going to be meeting on Saturday, May 10th, 10 to 2 Eastern Time. There's a time zone converter on here, and the cost is $49. So I just want to say you probably can't keep doing this. Life this way is unsustainable. Something's got to change. You've already spent enough years spiraling about being a failure or bad at life or something. But you're not a failure. You're just bad at being neurotypical. So let's stop trying to be. Let's learn how to be ADHD successfully. And I want to acknowledge that you could do a lot of this alone, right? You could do a lot of this work alone. You could think about your ADHD for the next few weeks or months or years. But I'm wondering how long you're willing to wait to make your life easier. And why are you insisting on white knuckling your way through life and doing everything the hard way? Because who benefits from that? It is not you. It's your turn to get what you need. I need you to stop putting your needs last because you matter too. And I've got the tools to help you. I want you to take them. So I can't diagnose you, but you can diagnose yourself. We talked about why self-diagnosis is valid. There's 3 main reasons: financial burden, location burden, and medical knowledge burden. I love this tweet from Trisha. Doctor, don't confuse your Google search with my 6 years at medical school. Patient, don't confuse the 1-hour lecture you had on my condition with my 20 years of living with it. I love that tweet. I love that tweet. As I said before, doctors are amazing. We love doctors, but many of them don't specialize in autism or ADHD, let alone what it's like to be both. Their professional assessments are often expensive as hell. Their invalidation and dismissal can do more harm than good, and their official records are fair game under the Trump administration, which is growing more hostile towards disabled people every single day. So let's just say fuck it and change your life now. So here's what we're going to do. We'll have the everything you want to know about ADHD presentation. We're going to fill out these autism and ADHD discovery binders together so that you can ask your questions if you would like. And then we'll also have coaching. Now, I want to do an accessibility note on the coaching. If you are someone who is non-speaking or you experience verbal shutdowns and or social anxiety, you do not have to come off mute to get coached. I am happy to coach you through questions and comments in the chat, just so you know. It's only offered live, okay? So May 10th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. You should come. So can I diagnose you? No, I cannot. Why is this paid? Because I have 3 kids and I usually spend my Saturdays with them. So if I'm going to take time away from them, I need to be compensated. What if I already have the binders? So I sell these binders. Some of you might already own these. You get a 50% discount on the discovery day as a thank you. So just email me and I will send you your discount code. So a little bit about me. I'm not a doctor, therapist, or any kind of mental health professional. I am a life coach and an ADHDer myself. I've literally written a book on ADHD. It comes out in September. And I think it's silly for us to wait to understand ourselves and help ourselves until someone in a white coat says we're allowed to. So this event is in no way a substitution for an official assessment, but it is intended to be a liberatory exercise in self-knowing. And finally, you know yourself. You can trust yourself. So I want to explore your brain together. So, oh goodness, there's some comments. How fun. I once had a faulty phone charger, which made noise. And I thought, wow, that's funny. I gained a new hearing ability. Let's see. Yeah, Solitude Guard. That is not. Okay. I'm so confused by that. Hi, Isabella. Hello. I saw you did a live the other day. I'm sorry I couldn't come, but hello. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just, let's see, hide user from this channel because I don't think that that's helpful personally. Was it fun, Isabella? Did you have a good time? Did you get lots of comments and questions? Because that's always the best part, I think. Also, in response to Solitude Guard's comments, I'm not making anybody pay me for anything. You don't have to pay me. You don't have to work with me if you don't want to. This is completely optional. And 80% of autistic people are unemployed, and I don't intend to join that statistic to make someone else feel better. So today is crazy. Oh no, Cool Kids Army, tell me why. What's going on? It was great. Oh, I'm so glad, Isabella. Hell yeah. Hooray. I'm happy for you. Doing lives can be so fun. Sorry, I'm a little thrown off by that person's comments. I apologize if that was off-putting to any of you. Usually our comments are so nice. I usually have them open to anybody. You don't have to be a subscriber, but if I continue getting comments like that, I may change that because that was off-putting to me. That was very frustrating. I don't like when people are so rude because that was pretty rude. Yeah. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing amazing. I'm doing okay, Isabella. Yeah. I feel really good right now. But we are entering the summer months, which is where my mental health kind of goes from like this to like this, which is hard for sure. But I'm working with a new therapist who I think is going to be really helpful with these kinds of things, because I think a big part of my issues with emotional dysregulation have to do with dissociation. And my new therapist specializes in dissociation. So that should be really cool. I feel that too. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. I'm sorry that you're in the same boat. I'm sorry that we feel this way about, this stuff. Hey, Megan, you don't have to give your product for free. You're allowed to charge for your work. You don't live alone. You have a family to support. Yeah, that too. And even if I did live alone, I would deserve money to live, right? Like, I don't know. There's a kitten that comes to our house a lot, and he was just upstairs in our house, and there was a fire in the industrial zone, We will eat fries tonight. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. That is crazy, Cool Kids Army. That's a lot going on, but I hope the kitten is cute and safe and okay. And I hope everybody else in the industrial zone is okay. If you have expertise and you add value, you're allowed to charge, and you offer so much for free already on your channel. I agree. I do offer a lot of stuff for free a lot of the time, or for low cost, right? I've got the Neurodivergent Clubhouse. If you guys want to join that, it's pay what you can, starting at $3 a month. It's very affordable. We're actually going to do a really fun restructure of the Discord over there because it's a little chaotic right now. My goal was to do that today, but honestly, I'm just not feeling it. I know I need to do it soon, but I just don't want to do it wrong. I'm afraid of messing it up. So anyway, I will do it soon and get the Discord restructured so that I lost my train of thought. Get the Discord restructured so that it's easier to use and more beneficial. Let's see. Self-diagnosis is not acceptable. I have a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome. I've worked my butt off, went to uni, got a degree, and helped people without ever charging to support others. You are harmful. Hi, Lauren. Okay, so again, I may have to keep this to subscribers only if we're going to get hateful comments, but I don't know that I'd call this comment hateful. It's just somebody who disagrees with me, and that's different. So first of all, I'm really glad to hear that you got your diagnosis and that it sounds like it's been helpful to you. And it sounds like you have worked your butt off. And I'm really, frankly, very proud of you. Not that you need my pride, but anytime someone with a disability is doing what they want to be doing, I'm so proud, right? The reasons that I say self-diagnosis is valid is because diagnosis can be very expensive, and no one should be denied access to claim their identity because of their financial situation. Also, there are many doctors who do not specialize in autism or ADHD, let alone both. And because they don't specialize it doesn't mean they're not good doctors. They are. They just don't specialize in this particular thing. And that means they're not super qualified to diagnose or not diagnose. But instead of recognizing that and suggesting that people seeking an autism or ADHD diagnosis see another doctor, a lot of these doctors just say, oh, you're not. Instead of acknowledging their limitations, they just refuse to diagnose. And I know this firsthand, and I know this from a lot of other people who've experienced this firsthand. Finally, the last reason I want to say that self-diagnosis is very valid is there are a lot of people who live in very rural areas who are very, very far away from any kind of doctor who even knows a little bit about autism or ADHD. Some people may live in countries where there is very little knowledge about autism or ADHD. And these people should not be gatekept or told they can't identify as who they are simply because of where they live. I find that to be very deeply unfair. So those are my reasons for saying self-diagnosis is valid. I in no way mean to discount people who are professionally diagnosed, right? I don't mean to do that. Professional diagnosis matters too. I'm professionally diagnosed. There's lots of good reasons to get a professional diagnosis, but there's also lots of reasons people can't. Completely agree with you in that respect. The issue is the more people ratify the self-diagnosis, the more we have people on social media that will lie about them. I disagree with that personally. I really strongly disagree with that. I never would have known that I was autistic or ADHD without people sharing on the internet, because the DSM criteria are cold. They're clinical, and they have to be. It makes sense that they are, but a lot of people don't see themselves in that. Do you know what I mean? I saw myself in Cadiosaurus. I saw myself in Connor DeWolf. I saw myself in all kinds of TikTokers and Instagrammers. And that's what made me realize, oh, I might be. Now, I didn't watch one TikTok and say, I'm autistic now. I did so much research before I self-diagnosed, before my professional diagnosis. And most people do. There was a really, really poorly done study that showed that 50% of ADHD content on TikTok is misinformation. And a lot of people cite that study as saying that, social media is this huge problem. And it has problematic features for sure. But I don't think it's all bad. And that study, like I said, was pretty poorly done. It looked at 100 TikToks. That's nothing. That's a drop in the ocean. I don't think that's a good enough sample size personally to do a full study and to just say that 50% of all information about ADHD on TikTok is incorrect. Like, I just don't buy that. They also looked at the top 100. The top 100 are going to be the ones that have huge comment sections saying this is misinformation. And I think it was very not nuanced. So anyway, let's see. We all know our brains better than any medical professional. We've done enough research on our own. Yeah, that's the other thing. Doctors know a lot about diagnoses, but they don't always know a lot about you. Does that make sense? You know? I used to think the same of self-diagnosis when I was diagnosed, but my views changed over time. Yeah, it's very valid because it's not like doing an x-ray to get a fracture diagnosis. Yeah, Naveen, it's really different. Like, there's no blood test you can do. There's no brain scan you can do. All the brain scans sometimes show some differences, but it's not like that. So yeah. So you don't think people go on TikTok and lie? No, Lauren, I don't think most people do that. I truly don't. I just don't think that. The amount of people that do those things, say they're self-diagnosed, I disagree. I think these people have real problems that they're looking for help with. Now, they might be wrong. They might get the diagnosis wrong, but that doesn't mean they're faking or lying to be harmful. It means they're looking for help. They're support seeking, not attention seeking, right? That's how I choose to view those things, right? So it sounds like we just disagree on how people approach this. And I think there can be some people who do harm, but just like the welfare system, that doesn't mean we should just get rid of it. I think self-diagnosis is the same way. Yeah, of course you're going to have some people who misuse it. And it's still necessary. It's still valid. Absolutely true, Megan. I saw myself in Paul McKillif from Asperger's on the Inside. I've heard great things about that channel. I need to watch it more. The YouTube algorithm diagnosed me by suggesting the channel. Yeah, I still missed it until my psychologist suggested it. Yeah, the TikTok algorithm really nailed me because I was like, I had seen some things about autism in the past and been like, no, everybody does that. That's crazy. No, Megan, not everybody does that. You do it because you're autistic. Some of the ADHD content is exaggerated, yes, but it's meant to be funny to us, not to non-neurodivergent people. Agreed. I thought I was HSP before I learned about autism, and I listened to people who shared their lived experience. That's worth more than diagnostic tools that are pathological and old. Yes, Isabella. Yes, that's the other thing. These, like, how do I even describe this? Here, there's a book that I'm reading right now that, Lauren, I really recommend you check out. It's called Mad World by Micah Fraser Carroll. I recommend this book to everyone. It's so very good. It walks you through, I'm only on page like 50 and it's already like literally blowing my mind. And it walks you through the history of mental health in, especially the UK, because the author's from the UK, but walks you through the history, of asylums, of the DSM, of all kinds of stuff. Let me read you the chapter titles. So 1 is asylums. 2 is knowing mental health today. 3 is mental health in a maddening world. 4, why work is sickening. 5, disability/possibility. 6, diagnosing diagnosis. 7, on disavowal and disorder. 8, art as a mad liberation tool. 9, law and disorder. 10, other possibilities. And then the conclusion is a future for mental health. So I think that book could be really empowering for so many of us. I'm finding it very empowering for sure. The individuals that have genuinely lied about these things have admitted what they were doing was completely fictitious. I've read so many books. Yeah, so have I, Lauren. So have a lot of self-diagnosed people. I think it's very difficult with social media and how mental health is portrayed rather than understood. Yeah. Yeah, I think, Lauren, it's important to acknowledge that there are a lot of self-diagnosed people in this chat. Okay, let's not be too harsh on Lauren, right? Because Lauren comes from their own perspective. And I don't want, Lauren, you're not welcome to do harm in this community by saying self-diagnosis straight up like is never okay, because there are people here who are self-diagnosed, and it's my job to protect these people in my community, people who look to me for support and leadership. But at the same time, I also recognize where you're coming from, Lauren. I hear your frustration. I hear your frustration with like, what I'm going through is serious and real, and having people make it a joke doesn't feel good. Right? It probably calls to mind memories from school of being bullied and your autistic traits being made fun of. And so I totally get that. But I don't think most people who self-diagnose are doing that. And I think it's very unfair to lump them all together. So, yeah, Isabella, I try my best because I haven't been in the past. I've been very rude in the past, and I don't like being that way. I don't want to be that way anymore. So I try really hard to be respectful to everybody, because something I learned from another great book called We're All Neurodiverse. Don't run away from the title. It doesn't mean we're all neurodivergent. Neurodiverse means that there is a diversity of neurotypes, including neurotypical. Right? That's what neurodiverse means. Neurodivergent means you diverge from the societal expectation of normal, right? So that's different. But we're all neurodiverse means that we're all in this together. And in this book, Sunny Jane Wise, the author, who's brilliant, by the way, talks about how individual autonomy is always, always more important than our individual, like, then trying to come to a consensus on what's the correct version of autism or whatever. Always respect others. Frankly, I find this lady incredibly insightful and sweet. It's about coming together to help one another and have a diagnosis better understood. Agreed, Lauren, but also saying self-diagnosis is not valid, calling me harmful. I don't know that I'd call you a bully, but you haven't been overly polite, so I understand people being frustrated. I'm not saying you owe anyone politeness. I'm not here to tone police. I'm just saying, like, I get why people are frustrated at this moment. But I also understand your frustration too. So, yeah, let's just make room for everybody. If it's about accepting and understanding a diagnosis better, then let's make room for the people who understand it differently from us. Shit. Okay, I have to go. I have an oil change that's in like 10 minutes. And the place is 15 minutes away. So I have to go. I'm so sorry to leave in the middle of this. I feel like this is a really helpful conversation that we really need to be having in this community. And I really view my job as to facilitate these kinds of discussions in a helpful way where I can. And I don't want to leave. I want to stay and keep hanging out with you guys. But yeah, just go forth and love yourself. Please love yourself, because the world is often cruel and it's not always going to love you for you. And I wish it would. You deserve that, but we don't always get that. So just know that I'm rooting for everybody here, and I believe you. I believe you. So I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Bye, everybody.